to the very next episode of The Remedy with Tova Sido and
Janice Gaunt and
Tom Bridwell.
Well, here we are.
Another day in
paradise.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Great.
Good?
Yeah.
Do you ever have days, Janice, where you're like, oh my gosh, my day is so stacked, and then like half the people cancel?
Yeah.
Then you're like,
yeah,
it's kind of weird. You're like,
I know.
I thought I was going to be packed today.
Now what do I do?
And, I always find like
yeah,
I
me
made
too.
I made soup. I
You
did
did?
laundry. I cleaned up a little. I mean, I was like, now I know what stay-at-home people do. They just putter around their house all day.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like you. Sometimes I'm kind of relieved if somebody has to cancel.
Yeah.
If I'm like, well, I'd really rather watch a good episode of Survivor.
You and your Survivor.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Are you all caught up?
I'm all caught up.
Okay. So now you just have to wait.
Have to wait week to week.
Did either of you watch the Netflix show Nobody Wants This?
Yes.
I'm through episode 5.
Isn't it good?
Oh,
It's pretty good.
It's so cute. I just think it's so cute.
oh, it's so cute. I was in San Francisco a week ago, and on the way there and back, I watched. I mean, it's so easy to watch too, because it's like
really is.
30-minute shows. One of them's like 22 minutes. But I have not laughed that hard at a show in a long time.
They're really cute. It really is.
They're
so cute.
So cute. I giggled so hard at the bat mitzvah.
Yeah.
You haven't got there yet, Tom, but you will. And it is so funny.
It's so clever.
It is. It's just kind of like eating ice cream. It's just really fun.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice.
Okay. Well, today we are going to talk about 7 emotional needs that everybody has. We can decide if we agree with this or not. But this is from the holistic psychologist, and I always love her stuff. I think she has some good stuff on Instagram. Me too. So let's see what we think about this. 7 emotional needs every person has. I feel like Tom's going to be like, yeah, I don't need that.
Probably right.
Okay,
So let's start with the first one. You want to tackle that, Janice?
Okay. Belonging comes from knowing that we have purpose or meaning in our lives. Meaning can come from having a connection with our family, building a business or a career, or having a really supportive community. Yeah. I think for me, this belonging is the first thing I think about are my families, my family members, and having the sense of belonging there. And then my friendships, and that are just so important to me being happy.
Sure.
And it's, I think that if we can figure out what we need to do to continue to nurture that is really helpful.
100%.
I try to say yes when sometimes I want to say no, like if some friends say, let's go have dinner, and I really don't want to, but I try to, really make sure that I swing back around and do it.
Yeah. It's interesting that this is the first one. There's a girl that I meet with from time to time, and she has, and her family and her husband's family, I mean, everybody has a ton of money. And on paper, it looks like she should be totally and completely happy. Has a beautiful husband, kids, children, healthy children, and happy children, and yet she does not have a core group of like strong friendships, and she's close with her family, but not that super close. And so every time she talks to her husband about how lonely she feels, he kind of makes her feel bad because he's like, oh my gosh, we have so much money. You have access, go play tennis. You can go shopping. And she's like, yeah, we live in this multi-million-dollar beautiful home, and he can't understand what. And I'm like, gosh, it just doesn't have anything to do with money.
No, it really doesn't. And my mother used to call it love with skin on it, that's what we really, really need. Mm-hmm. And it's true.
Oh, and you know it too. I mean, how many people do you see who have a ton of money? And people think that would solve all of your problems, but it's just not true.
No. It doesn't.
I think this is profound.
I think so too.
To us.
Yeah, and it's not just a desire. I think it's a need. I mean, this is a need.
Yeah.
I think people who don't have the privilege to have those connected family members or friendships, I'm sure that is what creates all that loneliness and that isolation.
That's so really hard.
Yeah,
to overcome.
It would be hard.
For sure.
Yeah.
Tom, you want to take number 2?
Sure. Safety. Safety comes from being in an environment where we can put down our defenses and be our authentic self. This means that when we're safe, our body can be in a parasympathetic state where we are more able to connect to ourselves and the people around us.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
This one seems to me like it's more of a priority for women. Maybe I'm wrong, but that just seems, I don't know a lot of guys that think about their safety like this.
I agree.
And I certainly don't.
I think women are. I think this is
more vulnerable.
More vulnerable, and really need. I think male friendships a lot of times are more surface. They're not talking about what's bothering people, or there's a lot of things that men won't necessarily feel comfortable talking about. And so I think that would, for women, it's just the opposite. Mm-hmm. And we need that because it does make us feel safe, even if what is happening in our environment is not what we want or something, especially when you're through some sort of a trauma situation in your marriage or with kids or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's important.
I think this is something that I completely take for granted because I feel very safe, and I always have felt very safe in my environment. Mm-hmm. I didn't growing up, but like ever since I've been able to control my environment after I graduated college and have lived on my own. But I think you don't think about this until you need to think about this.
Yeah, until you miss it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Until you start to feel unsafe, whether it's emotionally or physically. I mean, to live in an unpredictable environment where your safety is compromised, which statistically is hard to believe, but it does. I think it's like 1 in 5 women are in a relationship where their safety is threatened.
Well, and the emotional safety, like you can't, if you can't agree with your husband on everything, there are men that get really defensive about that, or if women start to lose themselves to please everybody, family, children, husband, then that would be, it would be a terrible place to be. Mm-hmm.
I see this a lot with addiction. Mm-hmm. People who are coming to me because they or somebody in their family is addicted, and that is a very scary environment for the people on the other side of them, because they can't predict what's next, or what's coming, or what they're going to come home to, and it's so unfair to them and their children.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of
sometimes
people
it really is.
who live with this.
Yeah.
And just because we don't, it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah,
So I have
for
a
sure.
lot of compassion for this one.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, this next one is decompression. Today we live in a very fast-paced, always connected lifestyle. This can really be a lot for our nervous system. Decompression is really about having privacy, time, and space just to be in quiet with yourself.
Yeah.
Man, do I need this.
I do a lot of that.
How do you do it? How do you decompress?
I mean, I'll read, lay on my bed and read, or I'll watch something that is interesting on television, or just anything that I don't have to necessarily
Show up for?
it. I can just do whatever. And it really is important to me. I never used to feel this way, but I think the older I've gotten, the more important it is for me to kind of just be me and not have to make plans all the time or be available for people all the time. I've cut back quite a bit on my practice, and because of that, because it was just starting to not be fun anymore. So, yeah, that's that. To be able to decompress is so important.
Oh, for me, it's so important.
Yeah, and no matter whatever it is that works for you.
To your point, I do think this is kind of like a sign of maturity, too. I think kids, younger people, they tend to live in a lot more of FOMO, and they're afraid they're going to miss out on something, or why weren't they invited, or what are we going to do tonight? And oh man, I have zero FOMO.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't need to stack every hour of every day. Like this last weekend, I was supposed to go to Hampton, Sydney to go see my boys play, but Carter got hurt in last Saturday's game, and so he had some nerve damage on his shoulder.
Oh,
and
I'm sorry.
He's going to be okay, but so I ended up not going because he wasn't playing.
Yeah.
And George didn't have a game either, and so I just stayed home. But it meant that I didn't have any plans.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I was so excited.
I know.
I miss seeing them, but it's a lot, and and so those times where you're just looking at your calendar and you don't have it's kind of like my morning. Like I said, I thought I was going to have 2 or 3 clients that ended up canceling today for different reasons, and I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah, no kidding. It's true.
I cooked soup and I turned on some music, did some laundry. I mean, that is a form of decompression for me.
Yeah, for sure.
It really is. Okay, you want the next one, Janice?
Yes, ma'am. Autonomy. The easiest way to think of autonomy is that we have a say in our own lives. We get to choose our own values and how we exist in the world. This gives us self-confidence, self-trust, and resilience. I love this, and this took me a long time to really be okay with that. For me to have my own value system, not caring necessarily what other people's value system is or what they think about my value system, and that me being not a people pleaser, but more of getting to the place to be really, really comfortable in our own skin, even if what's going on around me is not about me. So, but I can separate myself from a lot of that. And I really, really like it. To be able to, my friend Vicki in Little Rock and I went to Evanston to visit our friend up there, and it's so interesting because years ago I would ask, my first husband's name is Kurt, and years ago I would ask him, hey, can I go to blah, 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 blah? And I don't do that anymore. I mean, I say to Tom, hey, Vicki and Lynn and I are planning this trip together. Do you see any conflicts date-wise? There's something that we've already committed to.
Does this weekend work?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't need his permission, and he doesn't expect to give it, but that sort of autonomy is really nice.
I think a lot of people struggle with this. I think about men and, their need for decompression and their need for to have space. And, a lot of men, and Tom, I know you know this, like, they have to ask their wives if they can go play golf. And, their wives will say no. And then they don't go. They can't go. Or,
well, they could go.
They could go because they're adults.
They're grown-ups.
Yes.
They're not going to get grounded or a spanking.
Yes. Or and I think of women who want to go on a girls' trip or they want to go spend X or do X or, and, they feel like they need permission. And
well, I think with the age, I think that becomes easier. I think when I was first married to Kurt, I mean, we were so young and we didn't have much money, and I was very mindful about how much money I was spending because I knew it would stress him out. But now it's just different. It's so nice to be your own boss, your own boss and banker. Yeah,
sure is. I love being my own boss and banker. I do think that it's easier when you're older.
Yeah, I do too.
And you don't have 3 or 4 or however many little kids, but I do think that having the mindset of freedom, even if you consider your spouse in a decision you want to make about travel or a golf game or whatever it is. I mean, I think consideration is a nice word, but I don't think permission is necessary.
Yeah, I would say to Tom, hey, I'm going to go to Evanston with Lynn and Vicki. These dates, just want to make sure that there's not a big conflict for you or whatever, But I mean, nobody's babysitting except for Buddy.
The dog.
The dog.
We do absolutely need to consider.
We do, but Buddy has a friend that keeps him.
So cute. Okay, the next one is intimacy. We are deeply social creatures, and connection to other people is one of the most important needs we have. Emotional intimacy means someone else is attuned to us, interested in how we feel, and values the connection they have with us. In short, we are seen and appreciated for who we are, not what we can do for another person. Yep,
I love that too. That intimacy, into me you see, and into you I see. It's really how you connect. That's necessary for a truly legit connection.
Like a real connection. And if you were to say, do you think, for me, I guess I can only speak for me, I'm wondering the same thing about you and Tom, is I have a limited amount of people that I do this with. I don't have intimate relationships with a ton of people.
To where you pour out your...
fully seen, and I expect to fully see them. I would say that this really authentically happens with 5 people in my life. What about you?
Yeah, I would think that would be about right. Maybe 10, but yeah, there are a lot of people that don't really want to know all of the details about anything.
Yeah.
But the people that feel really safe, that if you're going to go to them with something and you feel really, really seen, and then they have kept it to themselves. To be able to trust somebody once you've done this into me, you see, is for them to keep their big fat mouth shut instead of going and talking about it with other people. You know?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's
that would
important.
Be so hurtful.
Yeah, it would be really hurt
If I let somebody see me and then they just let it out for public consumption. I think that's why my list is probably a little bit small when it comes to this. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Your list is also probably a little bit long because you have 3 grown children who you probably can share this kind of relationship with.
I don't really share a lot about if something's bothering me or something like that. I might talk to one of my girls, but I don't ever want them to ever feel like they need to be
an emotional caretaker to you.
Yeah, our support system. Whereas I've got, probably 6 friends that I could be really exposed with, I could really be honest with them, and I don't think that they would. I've never heard of any of them spreading anything out. There's nothing really that interesting.
Well, it matters though.
Yeah, it does matter.
Really matters. Okay, Tom, you want the next one?
Sure. Challenge and growth. We grow through challenge. When we have something we're working towards, we have an opportunity to solve problems, create, and to learn to trust ourselves. All of these things bring confidence and deeper levels of resilience.
We grow through challenge, and we have something. We have an opportunity to solve problems, create, and learn to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
All of these things bring confidence and deeper levels. So, challenge and growth. Do you think that is an emotional need that we have? Challenge and growth.
I think it's a byproduct that we need, is feeling like we can face a challenge and we are comfortable growing, because we grow, like it says, we grow through challenge. So challenges are not always zippity-doo-dah for sure. And so, but when we have something that we're really working towards, then we can it helps to build our resilience, I think.
I agree with this one because I think I think it is a necessary part of life.
Yeah.
I think if you live long enough, you are going to experience challenges, and those challenges have an amazing opportunity to create growth in us if we let it. So I think this is, I think it's a real opportunity, but I don't know that it's an opportunity that everybody takes. Because a lot of people go through challenges and they become amazing victims
or isolate.
Yes. They don't allow that challenge to create an opportunity for growth.
And I think part of that is another thing that is easier. The older I've gotten, it's easier for me to be able to say, yeah, you know what, that was not really what I wanted to say to you, and I really apologize. It's so much easier for me to expose something that maybe that I need to make an amends for, or that I wish that I had kept my mouth shut about something, or, just not being, even just being snappy to some, like Tom or something. And, so that's been something that was not easy for me to learn to do, because when I was younger, I felt like that I just was right all the time. Now I know I'm really not. Don't tell anybody. But it is interesting because that does challenge us. And that's how we grow.
Like I'm working with this woman right now who's getting divorced, and she's very sad and she's very lonely, and it's a huge challenge for her, what she's going through. But instead of using that as an opportunity to grow and learn and change and get stronger and better, she's really kind of going down this dark, destructive path. And so I do see what an opportunity it could be for her to, I mean, it was hard for me to get divorced. I mean,
me too.
You know, that is an incredibly difficult and challenging time of life. And it really can take you one way or another.
It can, for sure.
And so I really believe in this one because the challenge will come, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think it's not only is the challenge challenging, but to use the challenge as an opportunity for growth is another challenge.
Well, and I think you just have to lean into it because what we tend to want to do is resist it. But it really, whatever we resist persists, you know, that we have to lean into this challenge and it's not fun, but yeah, but I think it's important to learn to be a little more resilient.
Yeah.
That took me time.
Yes, it does take time, but gosh, when you see the isolation and self-destruction that I mean, everybody probably visits that and then they realize, God, this is making it worse.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, the last one, self-connection. Just as we have a deep need to be connected to other people, we also have a deep need to be connected to ourselves. A major part of this is having self-awareness of our own behaviors, thoughts, and reactions. This also includes our ability to self-soothe or to calm ourselves after a stressful situation. Love this one.
Me too.
I feel like we sort of talked about it in the autonomy, and
yeah, I think we did too.
you know, but I think that the more connected that we are to ourself, the better care we take of ourself, and the more confidence we have.
Oh, for sure.
In ourselves.
Sure.
Understanding ourselves better is, I mean, the self-awareness of our own behaviors, thoughts, and reactions is essential, I think, to emotional health. Because otherwise, we're just going to be blaming the whole world for the problems that exist instead of looking inward and looking at our own contribution, our own behaviors, our own thoughts, and our own reactions that are maybe contributing to the demise of whatever it is that's going on.
For sure.
I think this has probably been one of the best things about being single these last 8 years that I've been single.
Boy, didn't you learn a lot? Me, I did, for sure.
It's the most... I mean, I hated that I had to get divorced and be alone.
Me too.
To do that self-connection. I mean, I've told you, and I've said it here, it was the one thing that really scared me about getting married again. Like, wait a minute, I really love me. And time with me and taking care of me.
And we learned that we don't need somebody to take care of us or rescue us, and that independence, knowing that we have the capacity to do that, it allows me to breathe.
Yeah, it's so liberating.
Yeah, it really is.
For
sure.
It
really is.
Well, this seemed like it
good.
should have taken longer than it did, but I mean, this is pretty spot on and I think very, very helpful. Next week, we're going to talk about 6 things you can do to help your body heal from emotional trauma. So if you have experienced emotional trauma and have had a hard time taking care of yourself emotionally, what are some things that you can do to help your body heal?
Good.
Help yourself heal.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week. Until then, have an amazing week.
Have a good week. Thanks for listening.